What's up, guys? Welcome back to C4 Gaming and More. I'm Mike. With me is Ryan, as usual. Today we're going to do a little bit of a tutorial for you instead of gameplay. We're going to do tips and tricks on how to build a commander deck. So just to jump right into it, what I like to do is start with my concept. What do I want to build? What do I like? What kind of synergy do I like? For me personally, I'm a tribal guy, so I like to build around creature tribals. So Eldrazi, vampires, zombies, demons, whatever. I like to keep it real flavored to that across the board. So
I like using some kind of theme usually.
a theme, yeah, you like theme decks. Typically, if I do it, I keep it with a tribe, right? So I really like doing like the synergy with fairies, the synergy with vampires, synergy with whatever I'm building. However, I have made the foray into synergy with concepts. So I know you like a good theme, so you like the concepts thing a little bit better. For me, today I'm going to show you guys kind of how I built Ghoul Color Gisa, which on surface, if I was going with tribal, the way that I like to build, I would go with humans and wizards, right? But that's not the case in this deck. This one had some synergy that works with black, I guess. The theme in this is black. Black, what black does well, right? So I'm going to show you guys a monocolored just because I think it's an easier way to explain than trying to break up colors, because that gets a little bit more complicated. But for this case of basics, what I like to do is, okay, well, now I got Ghoul Color. What does she do? Sacrifice a creature, create X 2/2 zombies, where X is the sacrifice creature's power. For zombie synergy plus sacrifice triggers plus graveyard incursion, which is what black does well. That's kind of where I started with my synergy, and I picked out spells that kind of matched that flavor. That being said, you have creatures, instants, sorceries, and artifacts, and then enchantments. So what I do, when I go to build a deck, you also then have your lands as well, is kind of break down what I need for the deck to do, along with what I need or what I want to accomplish, right? So for me, I'm a tabletop player, kind of a kitchen table. Don't want to be well, I do like to be competitive, but not so competitive that nobody has fun, right? I don't know, how do you like to play?
I'm kind of the same way. I like to try to be competitive and still have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like to win, for sure, but I like to have fun. I like to see what decks can do. I like to see what kind of tricks that I can pull to have not just necessarily a win, but a creative win. So what I do is I get a concept, I kind of dig up a template, if you will, like what creatures would go with this, what sorceries and instants would go with the theme that I'm going for, what kind of things do I want the deck to do, and then from there is when I actually do the work. So for me, the work is building to playstyle, right? So, okay, all these creatures, all these instants, all these sorceries are what's going to help me achieve the goal that I want this deck to do. And then from there, I like to go okay, how do I get? I guess you do have the Planeswalker category too. I didn't throw that in there because I don't play Planeswalkers very often. If I do, it's kind of a one-off. I know that you have a Super Friends deck that you like,
Yeah.
which is based on those guys. I guess I should have pre-sorted this out.
Planeswalker decks can be fun, but they're a lot of work.
Right. So now to get into the numbers of things, you want to find the creatures and the elements for the deck that do what you want it to do, that match the synergy that you're looking for, whatever it is. I'm a creature heavy player, so very obviously most of my cards are going to, at least the meat of my deck is going to be a lot of creatures.
Right.
I add instant sorceries, enchantments, things like that that help the creatures to their end. I'm not a big on instant sorceries. I know a lot of players do stuff like that. But what I like to do is, after I get all of that sorted, right, we go with the template of, what is it, 35 lands starting? Roughly, around there, 35 lands, and then from there you build the deck around that. So what I like to do, from a mathematical standpoint, is then sort cost, and then kind of figure out an average cost to play Magic for this deck. So what I will do is, since I'm a creature heavy player, I will sort out all my cards, and I like to have my average cost around 3 and 4 mana. This deck, because black has a lot of tricks in some of the higher level or higher numbers, is probably closer to a 4, 5, 5, 6 cost as an average. And I did that knowingly. But as you can see, most of my drops are 4, 5, right? Got a few 6s in here, a few 7s, 1, 8, but then I offset that with the cheaper stuff, the 1s and 2s and the 3 drops. Trying to find that happy medium, that average, right? So we could also, in order to show overall average cost, throw the rest of our cards in real quick. But as you can see, after we bring the rest of the deck in, I get several more 2, 3 drops, which helps to bring that average cost of 4, 5 down a little bit. Alright? So that's my mathematical side from it. From there, I go with, okay, I definitely need lands in my colors, right? So then, I'm using mono black, so everything's going to be primarily black. Or specialty land that has little tricks to it, right? So some of these have, add mana for each creature card in your graveyard, again, because we got sacrifice triggers or synergy there. There's a lot of creatures in the graveyard with a lot of extra mana to play some of the bigger stuff, right? Ghost Quarter, sacrifice to destroy something that they've got. Say they have a Merit Lage on board. I don't want that playing.
Right.
Blow it up. Ojuka Bog, exile somebody else is playing black, playing the games with swamp mana, graveyard recursion, whatever. Ojuka Bog, play it, get rid of your graveyard to kind of slow down their gameplay. Or, even little things like Polluted Mire, comes in taps for 1 black, fine, but it has cycling, so if you get stuck, early mid game, you need something off the top of the deck. Doesn't happen often. It's not the strongest card in there, but it's in there because I don't need just strictly swamps. Have a few options. The same thing goes with all your auto includes for any commander deck, such as your Soul Ring and your Power Stone, your Mind Stone, all those things that typically end up being auto includes so that you can get out early game extra mana to start playing your game a little bit faster. Again, I like to play competitive, but not so competitive that I'm wiping the board to turn 2 and 3. That's why I don't have things like Jewel Lotus or Mana Crypt or something like that.
Right.
So I'm not the guy who's, here's 8 mana turn 1 in a 7/6 demon that makes you take damage infinitely. It's not my game style. I could, I don't.
You can almost do it with goblins.
Gobby's right. I do have tutors in here to pull out, game plans, and to be honest, I do use tutors, depending on the situation, right? So if everybody's chill, everybody's cruising along, I'll use a tutor to pull out something like Crypt Gas to double down my mana to play things out of my hand, or use it to pull out, Grave Titan so that I'm building my board state through the turns. But if somebody's playing really aggressive, I'll use a tutor to pull out Sorin Markov and make somebody's life total 10 and smack them real quick because they're getting too crazy and we don't want to lose. We don't want to have to pull him out right away, but it's okay if the hand is forced. Again, that's just kind of how I look at my cards. I do that with multiple colors too. So what I do is check the mana cost, right? So I got an average cost here of about 4, 5-ish, I would say, in this deck. So you have to have the mana to kind of offset that, right? So if this was a multicolored deck, say, I would check average cost of the whole deck, but then I would also break it down by color. How much cost do I have in blue? How much cost do I have in red? And then kind of divide up between my basics, blue and red, based on how many spells that I have in each color. And for this, it's easy. It's mono black, so 6, 7, 8 nodes. So in this one, specifically, I run 32 basic swamps, and then on top of that, 8. So I actually have a little bit more mana than most. Which I actually probably could do some trading off of basics, but 32 basic lands and then 8 non-basic lands, so for a total of 40 mana in my deck, and then I'm playing 60 spells. 59 spells plus commander. I could probably lighten that up. I didn't even realize I was running that much time, to be honest with you, but 35 is usually your jump point, depending on your average cost. Now, my cost was probably just a slight amount cheaper, so instead of like hovering around 4 or 5, if I was hovering around 3, 4, I definitely would feel confident taking a couple of these basics out and putting other spells in.
Great.
Where I'm at now, it has a lot of synergy and works pretty well for me. I usually don't get flooded or mana screwed with the way this deck runs. Now, after you build your deck, after you get your concept, what my personal way of gauging a deck is, I will, okay, I like the way that this looks, so we're gonna gather up all of our cards here. I appreciate how this deck is looking. What we'll do is shuffle up, right? If you guys in cyberspace hate me, tell me in the comments. It'll be fun. It'll be fun to read. Punch me in my self-esteem. That would be great. So then, what I'll do after my shuffle, alright, is I will take practice draws to make sure, you know what, I can run this hand, I can't run this hand, whatever it is. Yeah. Kind of screwed myself off rip, so I'm looking bad. I wouldn't keep that hand. But what I'll do is kind of run through scenario of, okay, well, I can play, first 3 turns look like this with a draw, and see if I like it or not, and see if it's a playable game. Again, this deck, personally, I've tooled this deck to kind of not be the world's fastest playing competitive mean deck. This is a casual play, yet still able to hang with a pod without problem deck. See, so like here, perfect example of I would keep this. This is a perfectly drawn starting hand, right? So what we would do is then play through a few turns, right? Turn 1, mana. Turn 2, mana draw. What would I play turn 2? Probably demonic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Search out a card for this early in the game. We're not trying to kill anybody or for the sake of whatever. Here is that. Here's the hand. Whatever. Please don't crucify me in the comments for that terrible shuffle. Turn 3, you get another draw. Here's a card. We have more plays. There's a Sign in Blood for 2 more cards. Turn 4. There's a draw. We have a bunch of things to play with that, Turn 5, and you see how we've kept up with mana the whole time. That's what I'm kind of looking for here, and I'm also looking for playable cards. At any point, I have enough mana to play almost everything in my hand. It's turn 5, and I can play any of those. As far as I'm concerned, that's a good level of mana to spells.
Right.
And that's kind of what I look for, and I'll do that 5, 6, 7 times. And if I feel comfortable with it, then we run with it. And if not, you make little adjustments and changes. Say, oh, you know what? I don't feel like I have enough mana. I gotta add a couple. And you'd be surprised how much 1 or 2 basic lands really does change the entire randomization of your deck. But that was a quick rundown tutorial on how I like to go about constructing my decks. So from concept of, hey, I want my deck to do this with this synergy, to finding cards that do that, to then checking the numbers on them, and if my average cost is too high, I'll try to find similar but cheaper cards that do the same synergy and try to lessen my overall mana cost. Again, I personally like a 3 to 4 average cost deck no matter what. I know in Commander you can get away with a little bit higher. On average, 5, 6 is not bad, but I do not like to sit on my hands early game if I can help it.
Right.
Which is going to kill me for my next concept because everything in those are pretty expensive. So. But any comments, any tips, tricks in the comments that you guys want to put? That would be fantastic. Got anything to add?
Not right now.
No? We've got our silent but deadly assassin over here who's not going to tell you his secrets. Eventually when we get the Twitch stream up and running, though, you guys will actually see the deck text of everything and get deck lists, and you can see what we're playing if you want to try them out. Until then, we hope to see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us. It's been C4 Gaming and more.